Okay, let's address something that many queer folks have to navigate every single year: going home for the holidays. Hi, it's Willow from Outcenter, and this is another episode of No Silly Questions, where we are all about LGBTQ FAQs and fast facts. There are no silly questions, so ask yours at outcenter.org/questions. Here's the uncomfortable truth. For many of us, going home doesn't mean returning to a place of safety and love. It means stepping into spaces controlled by people who hold views about you that are fundamentally harmful. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this like homophobia is just a difference of opinion. When someone rejects you or your queer friends on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity, that's not a neutral stance. That's an active, explicit choice to cause harm. And over the holidays, many of us find ourselves trapped in spaces with people making that choice. So this video is about surviving that and navigating that, working with or dealing with an unaffirming family. I'd like us to first start with something very, very critical in this conversation. When we're navigating non-affirming family, we are dealing with more than just kind of like stress, right? Obviously, stress is a big deal too. But really, for some of us in our backgrounds, these types of interactions are actually traumatic, or they're pulling on trauma. We need to understand that what's going on is happening at a neurological, psychological level. Research from the Family Acceptance Project shows us something honestly pretty messed up. It's that LGBTQ youth from non-affirming families are 8 times more likely to have attempted self-harm compared to their peers with accepting families. When you grow up in a home that rejects your identity, and then when you return to it during the holidays, your brain is registering this environment as a threat. Your amygdala, the part of your brain that processes danger, stores these experiences, and rejection trauma gets encoded in your nervous system. You learn at a deep level that being yourself is dangerous. So trauma-informed thinking teaches us that this isn't weakness. This is a normal response to legitimately harmful situations. How do we actually navigate this? Maybe you've decided that you are considering going back home for the holidays. So first, we want to assess the risk involved. We need to be honest about this too. So the first and most important question is, am I going to be safe, both physically and emotionally, right? If we can't guarantee our safety, we need to pick the option that is best for us. And if that means not going home for the holidays, then, well, it's better for us to be safe than sorry. So maybe we've realized that there is a level of, conflict that might happen, but we're okay with it. So we think that maybe we are going to go. But we can still prepare. We might ask if there are specific situations or comments that might activate us. If there might be specific rabbit trails of conversations that might start making us feel anxiety. It's good to think about these things beforehand so that way we are prepared, so we're not surprised by them. Another important thing in our taking inventory is to understand where our sources of support are from. Do we have friends that we could text while we are there if something is just going so silly and we need somebody to rant to over text message? You might ask similar questions like if you have somewhere to go, if you need to leave, are there other people that could help you with that? So it's about creating something like a risk plan before you actually go out there. Second, it's important to create a survival kit for when you're in these activating situations. DBT, or dialectical behavioral therapy, teaches us something called coping ahead of time. And I think that this is super invaluable. Once again, let's take some inventory here. We want to keep in mind, or even memorize, or have in the back of our back pocket some grounding techniques that we can use. Grounding techniques are things or actions that can help us regulate ourselves when we are activated. These can include breathing exercises. They can include going for a walk, maybe certain types of music, a particular book or something that you can go off somewhere and read that you find helpful, maybe something like journaling. To have some grounding techniques identified beforehand makes it easier to draw on them when you are activated. And finally, pre-plan some post-family self-care. So don't wait till things are falling apart or when panic is set in. Schedule a therapy session for right after the holidays. Plan some friend hangout sessions. Book some time to do something that feels affirming that you can look forward to. Another part of pre-planning is setting boundaries now. So not during heated arguments, not when people are crossing boundaries that haven't necessarily been made clear. Think about these boundaries before the activation hits. So a boundary is not a request or something to debate about. It's a statement of what you will or will not accept. So here are some examples. I will not discuss my relationship or identity as a debate. If a specific topic, maybe it's trans sports or things like that, comes up, I'm going to step away. It could be something like, I need my partner to be treated with respect. Otherwise, we'll need to go. It could also sound like this. I'm not attending a holiday event if a specific condition is true. Maybe there's a family member that has said or done abusive things to us, or spends all of their time posting the most AI-generated conspiracy theories about queer people on Facebook. It could be to say, if this person's attending, I will not be. These are boundaries, and these are important, and they are important to communicate clearly and calmly. Be sure to phrase this so it doesn't come across like you're asking permission. You are informing and you are declaring. So while you're there, make sure you keep these boundaries. Don't let people push them. Make sure to rely on your grounding exercises. And then if you need to leave early or things like that, follow through. Okay, so after you leave, it's so important to debrief and decompress. If you've ever seen like a dog kind of shake it off after they're dealing with something surprising or, dealing with energy, we as humans kind of need to do a similar thing too. We're storing a lot of tension in our bodies. And so we need to make sure we are doing something to release that bodily tension. Like I said, this isn't just thought processes or ideas. All of these things affect our physical bodies. So for whatever works best for you, in as much of a way as is healthy for you, incorporating some movement in this decompression is going to be helpful, even if that's just sitting. For instance, you could sit and focus on moving your thumbs and then your hands and then your arms and going all the way up and down your body. As you consider these different aspects of who you are grounding yourself in your physical body. So basically, in short, you need to process everything that just happened. Don't just let it boil over. There's also a totally alternative path to all of this. If when you ask the question, is it safe? Your answer is no, or just in general. This alternative path is deciding to hang out or go home, as it were, to chosen family. You are not obligated to. You do not have to spend the holidays with your biological family, especially if they are abusive, especially if they are unaffirming. So during the holidays, many queer people host Friendsgivings. They gather with chosen family. They're creating their own new traditions that affirm them. And they're spending time with people who actually want to love and care fully, right? Not just with certain words, right? So there's no reason to take sort of the half-baked thing with biological family that kind of hates your guts when you could go ahead and make those new traditions with chosen family who care about every aspect of who you are. So this could include close friends who understand your journey. It can include other LGBT people. It could be community members, partner. Maybe your partner's family is affirming. Also mentors and other people who have supported your growth. This is also important, this pre-planning thing. It's important to build these connections year round. Don't wait for the holidays to start to reach out to people. Show up for people, create community, and when the holidays come, you and the other people you've built community with will have this safety net, each of you for each other. So let's end with this. Going home for the holidays as a queer person requires real courage. You're navigating systems that weren't designed for you. You're managing trauma. You're protecting yourself while potentially hoping for connection that might never come. That's hard work, and it's not weak for finding it difficult to deal with. So whether you go home or stay away or do something in between, your choice is valid, just like your identity is valid, your sexuality is valid, who you are is valid. Your need for safety and authenticity is valid. So make sure you're supporting all of those affirming things first, because it is not weak to make a decision that's going to support you and who you are. I will say as well, if you are part of a family or chosen family or friend group that is welcoming and affirming, maybe this is a chance to show some love for friends who need welcoming as well. Maybe people who you don't know as much, maybe people who you've seen around. Maybe extend an invite. Get other people around your table and provide the hospitality that maybe their families aren't going to. But in any case, continue to be brave. You've got this. Find your family, pre-plan, operate from a place of safety, understand that trauma is real, and make the best decisions for you. If you are enjoying this material and finding it helpful, please share this video on social media with your friends, with Facebook groups, with your group chats, and anything in between. Also, if you want to help us keep this content going, support us at outcenter.org/donate.